I didn't wake up one day and suddenly change my life. This moment came after pressure, doubts, discipline, and a long fight inside my own mind. I questioned everything I thought I knew. I chased success, confidence, and purpose, but something was always missing. Then I stopped listening to noise and started listening to truth. What I found didn't promise an easy life. It promised a real one, a life built on discipline, accountability, and submission to one God. Accepting Islam wasn't the end of my journey. It was the moment my journey finally made sense. Today, I don't speak to impress you. I speak to tell you that when you search with honesty and courage, truth has a way of finding you. My life was not always guided by certainty. For a long time, it was driven by ambition, pressure, and the constant need to prove something to the world and to myself. I believed that strength meant never doubting, that success meant always winning, and that purpose would appear once I reached the next level. I trained my mind to be focused, disciplined, and relentless, yet inside there was a quiet question that never left me. Why am I here, and what does all of this really mean? I searched for answers in achievements, in respect, in recognition, and even in silence. But clarity did not come easily. Searching is not comfortable. It demands honesty, and honesty forces you to face your weaknesses. I questioned beliefs I had inherited and ideas I had never challenged. I listened more than I spoke. I read, observed, and reflected. The more I searched, the more I realized that noise distracts the mind from truth. The world offers many voices, many shortcuts, many promises of happiness, but very few answers that stand firm when life becomes difficult. I wanted something solid, something that did not change with success or failure. During this search, I learned that discipline is not just physical. Mental discipline is the ability to sit with uncomfortable questions without running away from them. It is the courage to admit that you do not know everything. As I studied Islam, I was struck by its clarity. There was no confusion about who God is, why we exist, and where we are going. The concept of one God, alone in His power and mercy, removed layers of doubt from my heart. Tawheed was not just a belief, it was a foundation that made everything else make sense. The Quran did not speak in complicated language meant only for scholars. It spoke directly, challenging the mind and calming the heart at the same time. It reminded me that life is a test, not a performance. That success is not measured only by what people see, but by intention, effort, and sincerity. This understanding changed the way I looked at struggle. Pain was no longer pointless. Discipline had meaning beyond achievement. Even failure had value if it brought growth and humility. Certainty did not come in one moment. It was built step by step, like training day after day, even when results are not immediate. Prayer taught me consistency. It trained my soul the way routine trains the body. It reminded me that no matter how strong or confident I feel, I am always dependent on God. This realization did not weaken me, it grounded me. True strength came from knowing my limits and submitting to the one who has none. Islam also taught me accountability. Every action matters, even the ones no one sees. This awareness sharpened my focus. It pushed me to be better not for applause, but for purpose. When your life has direction, distractions lose power. When your heart has certainty, fear loses control. I understood that guidance is not about perfection, but about effort and repentance. Falling does not define you, refusing to stand again does. My journey from searching to certainty was not about abandoning the world. It was about understanding my place in it. Islam did not take away ambition, it refined it. It did not silence my drive, it gave it meaning. I still aim high, still push limits, still demand excellence from myself, but now I know why. Everything I do becomes an act of responsibility, not ego. There were moments of doubt, moments of loneliness, and moments when the path felt heavy. But certainty does not mean the absence of difficulty. It means trusting the process even when the outcome is unseen. Faith became my anchor when emotions changed. It reminded me that consistency beats intensity, that patience beats panic, and that sincerity beats show. From searching, I learned humility. From certainty, I gained peace. Islam gave me a framework to live with balance, discipline, and hope. It taught me that the greatest victory is not over others, but over the self. The journey continues every day, through effort, reflection, and prayer, through falling and standing again, through learning and submitting, through striving to live with purpose, clarity, and faith while knowing that certainty is not an end point but a responsibility that must be protected. Strengthened and lived through every choice, every challenge, every step forward in this life without ever forgetting who I am, who I serve, and why I continue to search even after finding the truth. My life changed the moment I stopped running from my questions. For years I kept myself busy, focused, disciplined on the outside, but inside there was a constant noise that no success could silence. I was moving fast, chasing goals, winning battles, yet something felt incomplete. I asked myself questions that had no easy answers. Why does the heart feel empty even when life looks full? Why does success feel temporary? Why does confidence disappear the moment you are alone? These questions were uncomfortable, but they were honest, and honesty has power. At first, I tried to ignore them. I told myself that questioning meant weakness, that real strength was about pushing forward without hesitation. But the questions did not leave. They followed me in silence, during moments of reflection, after achievements, during setbacks. I realized that ignoring them was costing me peace, so I decided to face them. I chose to question, not to doubt for the sake of doubting, but to understand. That decision required courage, because once you start asking real questions, you cannot accept shallow answers anymore. I questioned the meaning of life, the idea of God, the purpose behind discipline and struggle. I studied different perspectives, listened to people, read deeply, and reflected honestly. The more I questioned, the clearer one thing became. Truth does not fear questions, falsehood does. Islam welcomed questions. It did not ask me to switch off my mind. It challenged me to use it. Every question led me closer to clarity, not confusion. When I learned about the oneness of God, it answered a question I had carried for years without knowing it. The idea that there is one Creator, independent, powerful, merciful, and just, removed complexity from belief. It simplified life. One God, one purpose, one direction. That clarity brought relief. It felt like aligning the mind and heart after a long imbalance. For the first time, belief felt logical and spiritual at the same time. The Quran addressed my questions with confidence. It spoke about human weakness without shame. It acknowledged fear, ego, doubt, and desire, while offering guidance instead of judgment. It explained that life is a test, not a reward ceremony. That success and failure are both tools. That struggle is not punishment, but training. This perspective changed how I saw hardship. Instead of asking why me, I started asking what is this teaching me. Questions also led me to understand discipline in a new way. Discipline was no longer about control alone. It became about submission to something greater than myself. Prayer demanded consistency. It required me to pause, to humble myself, to remember my purpose daily. This routine strengthened my inner world. It taught me that true power is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, patient, and steady. I questioned the idea of freedom. I thought freedom meant doing whatever I wanted. Islam taught me that real freedom is control over the self. When you are not a slave to desire, fear, or validation, you become strong. This truth reshaped my mindset. It made me realize that boundaries are not limits. They are protection. Structure does not weaken ambition, it sharpens it. Through questioning, I also learned accountability. Islam made me aware that every action matters, especially the ones done in private. This awareness changed my behavior more than any external pressure ever could. When you know that nothing is hidden from God, excuses lose their power. Responsibility becomes personal. Growth becomes intentional. There were moments when the path felt lonely. Questioning separates you from comfort. It challenges what you have always known, but loneliness is temporary. Truth lasts. Certainty does not arrive as emotion. It arrives as calm, a calm that remains when excitement fades, a calm that stands firm during loss and pressure. My questions did not disappear after finding Islam. They evolved. They became deeper, more focused, more purposeful. Faith did not end my thinking, it guided it. I learned that belief is not blind acceptance, it is informed trust. Trust built on understanding, reflection, and experience. When questions led me to truth, they also led me to peace. Not the kind of peace that removes struggle, but the kind that gives strength within it. Islam gave my life direction without taking away ambition. It gave meaning to effort. It gave value to patience. It gave hope beyond results. Today, I respect my questions. They were not obstacles. They were signs. They pushed me towards sincerity. They stripped away illusion. They led me to a belief that aligns the mind, disciplines the soul, and strengthens the heart. The journey continues every day through learning, prayer, effort, and self-accountability. Knowing that asking questions with honesty is not a weakness but the beginning of wisdom, and that truth reveals itself to those who have the courage to search for it without fear, without ego, and without turning back. Once the heart recognizes the light, choosing faith was not a reaction to pressure, fear, or expectation. It was a decision shaped by awareness, patience, and responsibility. I did not arrive here because someone told me to follow, or because I wanted acceptance from others. I arrived here because I wanted truth that could stand on its own, truth that would remain steady whether the world applauded me or turned away. Understanding was the foundation, not emotion, not impulse, not force. For a long time I lived in an environment where strength was measured by confidence and certainty, where hesitation looked like weakness. Pressure existed everywhere, from society, from expectations, from the constant push to succeed and dominate. But when it came to belief, I refused to let pressure decide for me. Faith that is forced cannot last. Faith that is borrowed collapses the moment it is tested. I needed something I could defend in silence, something I could hold on to when no one was watching. I took time, I observed, I questioned. I compared what people said with what they lived. I separated culture from belief, noise from meaning. Islam did not rush me. It did not demand instant loyalty. It invited reflection. It asked me to think, to reason, to be honest with myself. That alone told me something important. Truth does not panic, it waits. Understanding began with the idea of one God. Simple, uncompromising, complete. No confusion, no hierarchy, no contradiction. One Creator, independent and absolute. This clarity removed pressure from my mind. I did not have to juggle beliefs or justify inconsistencies. Everything flowed from one source, purpose became clear, responsibility became personal, life stopped feeling random. I studied the principles before accepting the identity. I wanted to know what Islam expects from a person when no one is watching. I learned about prayer not as a ritual, but as discipline, fixed times, no excuses, presence over performance. This structure appealed to me. It reflected a mindset I respected. Consistency builds strength. Repetition builds mastery. Faith, like excellence, demands commitment. No one stood over me demanding a decision. There was no countdown, no ultimatum. That freedom mattered. It allowed sincerity to grow naturally. I learned that belief chosen freely carries weight. It becomes unshakable because it is owned, not inherited or imposed. When faith is chosen with understanding, it becomes part of your character, not just your label. I also understood that Islam does not promise comfort. It promises meaning. It does not remove struggle. It gives it direction. This honesty earned my respect. I was not looking for an escape from hardship. I was looking for a framework to face it with dignity. Islam taught me that effort matters, intention matters, and patience is strength, not delay. Pressure tells you to follow quickly. Understanding tells you to stand firm slowly. I chose the slower path. I allowed myself to grow into belief. I accepted that learning never stops. Faith is not a finish line. It is daily responsibility. Every action becomes a reflection of belief. Every choice becomes a test of sincerity. Choosing faith with understanding also meant accepting accountability. There was no hiding behind crowds or excuses. Islam made me aware that my actions define me more than my words. Discipline was no longer just external. It became internal. Control of ego, control of desire, control of reaction. This type of discipline is harder than any physical challenge, but it produces lasting strength. I learned that pressure seeks conformity, but understanding builds conviction. Conviction does not need validation. It does not need applause. It stays calm under criticism. When belief is rooted in knowledge, doubt loses its grip. Opinions lose power. You stop reacting and start standing. This choice reshaped my ambition. Success stopped being about dominance and started being about responsibility. I still aimed high, trained hard, demanded excellence, but my motivation changed. I knew why I was striving. I knew who I was accountable to. That awareness brought balance. Wins felt grateful. Losses felt instructive. Nothing felt empty anymore. Faith chosen freely becomes a source of calm. Not a loud calm, but a steady one, a calm that does not disappear under pressure, a calm that allows focus when chaos surrounds you. This is what understanding gave me, not blind belief, but conscious submission. I did not choose Islam because it was easy. I chose it because it was clear. I chose it because it aligned the mind, disciplined the soul, and grounded the heart. Pressure fades, trends change, truth remains. When belief is built on understanding, it becomes a foundation that supports every step forward, every setback, every moment of doubt, every moment of strength. Every day of striving to be better than yesterday with sincerity, humility, and purpose, while knowing that the choice I made was mine. Alone, fully understood, deeply accepted, and lived with commitment and clarity without needing approval from anyone but the one I chose to submit to, and so, this journey is far from over. Every step I took toward understanding, every question I asked, every moment of doubt and clarity shaped a story that is still unfolding. What I've shared today is just a glimpse into a path that transformed my heart, my mind, and the way I see the world. Imagine what it feels like to discover answers you didn't even know you were searching for, to find peace in a way that surprises you when you least expect it. But this is only the beginning. There's a deeper layer, moments I haven't shared yet, challenges that tested me in ways I couldn't have predicted, and insights that completely changed how I think about life, purpose, and faith. In the next video, I'll take you even further, into the moments that truly defined this journey, the turning points that made all the difference, and the lessons that could change the way you see your own path. So don't click away, because what's coming next might just challenge what you believe, inspire the steps you take, and maybe even help you find your own answers that have been waiting all along.